Despite what their moms told them, they just aren't talented enough for radio. Unfortunately, anyone can have a show these days. Sean.
Well, I'm pretty hard to figure out sometimes. In fact, I can't even figure myself out sometimes, so don't you try to.
Joe.
You're an idiot and really a disloyal person.
This is the Cuse Militia. Those two unapologetically biased, orange-blooded homers, Sean and Joe.
It's the most bullshit thing I've seen in 30 years.
Welcome, orange men and ladies. Happy Sunday. This is the Cuse Militia with Sean and Joe for the Believe Entertainment Network at Cuse Militia on the socials. Go there, join the militia. Live on X Spaces for the fan feedback segment of every post-game show. That is today. Duke dismantles Syracuse at home in the Dome, 38-3, and racked up 504 yards of total offense, just complete domination. Syracuse never sees the end zone. They dismantled Syracuse, and they dismantled beliefs and dreams. So it's unfortunate. Coach did do a press conference. It wasn't very long, but we're going to listen to the important stuff I pulled out of it. So let's check it out right now. Here's Coach following the loss.
Two things. First, I wanted to congratulate Duke, Coach Diaz and his staff. They did an amazing job today. They beat us in all aspects of the football game. Out-coached me. They just did an amazing job. Second, I want to apologize to Syracuse, the fan base, just everyone who follows this football program. That performance that you've seen out there today was not good, and I have to make sure that I coach our players a lot better, be able to prepare them better, and have them ready to come out and be able to compete.
What did you see on that Jonte Cook fumble play, and do you think that shifted momentum in the game?
I'm not sure. I mean, that was one of many plays that didn't go our way, so we still have to be able to learn. You can't take one play and take that as something that would shift the game or do things. So just think it was a good play. They reviewed it. They went through it. It was upheld, so just got to go with what they reviewed and upheld.
And what areas of growth and what can this team learn from in this loss today?
Just adversity. I'm a faith-driven dude, right? So things happen for reasons, right? There's a lot of blessings in disguise possibly in this. I couldn't really tell you that right now, but there's a lot of adversity. You'll see people stick together. For me, when your back's against the wall, that's when some people usually are at their best. So you get an opportunity to see. It's good for our players because I would like for a lot of them to look at their phones right now and see the text log. And I want them to see the text log from last week. And then I want them to remember that and work. Just understand no matter what, you still got to work tomorrow. Don't allow those things to mess you up. You got to live in the moment at all times.
Just looking at Ricky Collins, this obviously being his first start ever collegiately. I know you didn't get into the end zone, but what were some of those takeaways and maybe some things you can build off of knowing that this was a moment for him to step out and be the leader?
I think he's going to do a good job coming down the line. I think he'll continue to get better. I mean, she can't get worse, right? But he was doing his job. He was able to move the ball. There's a lot of different flags and things that happen at certain weird times that will never give him a chance to get the drive started and sparked. But I'm comfortable with him. I'm comfortable with what he's done. I think we can gain off of the performance he had today. There's some things that he did well. There's some things that we'll fix. But I'm comfortable and thankful that he's our quarterback.
Coach, Yasin had a really good run where he leaped over a player, got the crowd going, but after that, didn't see too much from him. Or is that something you're looking back on? Maybe you wish you established more of a run game early on?
Yeah, we got to give Yasin the ball. He needs the football. He has to get the ball more.
Coach, once the game was just about decided, was there any discussions to see what Jakari or Luke could do out there, and what went through the decision to just keep Ricky until the very end of the game?
Ricky's our quarterback. We started the game with him. We wanted to end the game with him. We gotta put our pads on people, right? I mean, we were diving at the ground and stuff like that, right? That's not how you tackle. We gotta run through contact. We just got pumped, right? We didn't play tough football, so it shouldn't look like that. It's not good. That's not how it's supposed to look. We have to make sure that we use our shoulder pads and helmet.
All right. So, Joe, just full disclosure, I watched this game from my phone. Most of it was I could not hear a ton. I was just able to watch it, and thankful I was even able to do that because I was in Shenandoah for family weekend. Yes, I was that guy watching the football game from my phone. So, anyway, look. First drive, you come down and it looks good. You seen Willis 35-yard run where he hurdles a dude. It looks really good. It looks like Syracuse is going to be able to start pretty strong after a turnover or before the turnover. Then you get the turnover that happens, and from there it just becomes. I think it went 3-3, right, Joe? And then it was a Nate Shepard 49-yard touchdown run, and once it was 10-3, it was no looking back for Duke. Coach says he was out-coached, and he's got to get them better prepared. I just feel like I'm not trying to be an apologetic for Ricky Collins, the coaching staff, or anything, but being his first collegiate start, does he get a pass on this? Obviously, there's going to be some kind of learning curve. I don't know if any of us expected him to come out and just light the world on fire, albeit Duke's defense not extremely great. But on the flip side of this, which wasn't brought up during the press conference really that much at all, was the Syracuse defense just got handled. And we knew that the Duke offense was pretty potent passing game, and they have some skilled players, but at the end of the day, just they did not play as a team. It didn't look cohesive. It was a very ugly game. It was a very ugly game that I ended up turning off. Apparently, I didn't miss anything, because once I turned it off, it was at the last touchdown that Duke scored to make it 38-3. I don't think I missed anything after that, but that's when my phone went back in my pocket. That was it.
Yeah, it was ugly from the start, right? I guess not from the start. It looked first couple plays, we were driving and then Ricky kind of stares down a guy, safety comes over, gets a pretty easy pick. You can argue whether or not his arm got hit or not, but nonetheless, unless he aired that one out about 10 yards farther, that was going to get intercepted regardless. I think personally to me, I think that Ricky probably should get a pass. We spoke about it. Tyler spoke about how he was going to need 150 snaps. I think that one thing that we learned yesterday, if you know the game, on why Steve Angeli won the job over Ricky Collins, and you could already see after one game some of the things that Steve Angeli could do better than Ricky Collins, but there's also some positive things that I think you can take out of it. I think there were some times where he could have left the pocket and used his legs a little bit, because he does have that he's going to have to use that advantage. And I think that honestly, for me, it looks like he may have a stronger arm than Angeli. It's just decision making and accuracy at this point. So you did see some throws where it actually didn't look that bad. He threw the ball, got it to where it was supposed to go. Receivers made the catch, but you got to go with what Fran said. Fran's going to take the blame anyway. But I just remember there's just so many times I looked over and you could watch during defense, the defenders, they didn't look like they were all on the same page, looking at the sideline for the call. And while Duke is snapping the ball, right? People, I know we're going to talk about it, but you just seen Willis. This is the second post-game press conference that, after a loss where coach has said, we got to get you seeing the ball more, and then we don't do it. So, I definitely would have liked to, right? It's a situation where when you get down that far, you got to throw it, right, if you want to make a comeback. But I mean, when you're in there earlier, like you should be getting more than 11 carries a game is just kind of where I'm coming from. And then on top of that too, I mean, it just every bad break kind of came our way. It was just like it seemed like Duke would get like an offensive pass interference, but then they would still get the first down and go score a touchdown, right? And just with all the turnovers and the targeting that they turned back when, I think Jonte Cook's knee was on the ground, and I thought that was an awful call.
Hold on. You gotta slow down a little bit because you're going through the whole montage.
No, my bad.
Yeah.
Well,
the Jonte Cook. Well, let's talk about the Jonte Cook because that was originally stoppage play for a replay for targeting call, and I guess while he wasn't a defenseless receiver because he became a runner at some point there, it still looked an awful lot like targeting to me. Not only that, but his knee was down. I understand going in and reviewing multiple things at the same time. I'm okay with that, actually. I don't have a problem with it. But I think it was so wrong. I mean, I couldn't hear the broadcasters, but I heard that they were flabbergasted by it. I don't know exactly what happened, but to me, it looked like he was down before the ball came out, like clearly down. So, I don't get it.
And to me, the call on the field was targeting and no fumble, and I just think that there wasn't enough conclusive evidence. If it was a fumble, there wasn't enough conclusive evidence for that to see. It just looked like, his knee was down and it was like bang, bang. Knee went down pretty much a second later. Dude came in, targeted, and once he hit Jonte in the head, that's when it looked like he dropped the ball. So to me, the fact, if they would have called a fumble on the play and then gone back and upheld it, then okay. But the fact that they didn't call the fumble and then they went back and decided that replay was good enough, no one really agreed with it as far as I'm concerned, except for probably Duke fans and players and coaches.
Well, I think we're all smart enough to know when a call is bad, but you'll accept it. You know what I'm saying? Like, you have to look at that as a even a Duke fan and be like, wow, we kind of got away with one there. But to the point of that whole thing, that is really, as soon as Syracuse is getting some momentum, it was that happens and then it's done. It's like they could not get in anything in going at all.
Right.
And the ACC officials missed a huge offsides call that in the Wake Forest Georgia Tech game last night that determined that game pretty much. So, I think that's clear. I think the Jonte Cook thing is clear. And to Coach's point, that one play is not going to determine the game. Okay. And we could talk about momentum, but we'll never know. So it doesn't matter. Syracuse still loses that game regardless. That's not the point, though. The point is that you just, as hard as you can try sometimes, it's like the dumbest things. The dumbest things can happen. And like you said, how many offensive pass interference calls did Duke have? I'm not even saying the officiating was biased. I'm just saying it wasn't good. You get guys in second, third, and long, and what was it, 2nd and 25 or something like that for Duke after one of these offensive pass interference calls, and they get it all in one chunk.
Yep.
Come on. Come on. Yep. You had a Duke touchdown where, I'm sorry to Demetrius Samuels, is 5 yards behind his receiver in the end zone. It's like, what are we doing? It looked pathetic, man. The defense looked terrible. They weren't anything as close to what they looked like against Clemson. Clemson must suck. Clemson must suck. That's where I'm at. Talk about trying to learn something every game. Here's what I learned. Clemson sucks. They really do. They may go 1-11. I don't know. I'm not trying to be pissy, but we can afford to give a game away.
Yeah.
Right? And so it's not going to ruin a season. But this is the game we're talking about right now. And I felt like for coach to say that, well, we didn't play in all aspects of the game, or we were beating all aspects of the game, it's an understatement. You couldn't even get in the end zone. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know, man. It was bad. It was really bad. The turnovers, the miscues, the defensive lapses in defense with missed tackles and just out of position just seemed like, I don't know, man. It was not a good look at all.
No, I know. And realistically, it's again, the coach has got to eat that.
Right.
I mean, you can get on the players all you want and everything, but and don't get me wrong, there's a mental aspect to that too, right? Because you get an emotional high. We talked about it last week too. You get an emotional high of beating Clemson, and all the while that kind of bittersweet, this is how we could have been with this guy, but now this guy's out for the season. So it's almost like we had to start over. And I don't know if that, all the emotional roller coaster that they went through during the week, if that just took a toll on them and they just weren't prepared. But that's what it looked like. It just looked like Duke, they were more prepared than us. It just seemed like, when we weren't blitzing, or we didn't have we weren't doing anything crazy, like they knew that they could run it on us. And then when we tried to blitz, tried to bring pressure, then they would it was almost like they had some type of screen or tunnel, bubble screen, something like that, just set up. And like what Fran said in his presser, it's almost like they knew what they were doing on defense, and as obviously offense is going to take a step back because it is his first start. And, again, we talked about how the defense and the rest of the team had to play to kind of help Ricky out this week. And, you can blame the coaches. You can put a little bit on some of the players and some of their lack of effort or their mental lapses, right? Or, missed assignments. But between drop balls, between, fumbles, the defense just giving up so many yards. I mean, they just did not give Ricky Collins, a good.
There was no supporting cast to say the very least. There was no. If you got a brand new quarterback out there, you as a team, offense and defense, especially offense, but obviously the defense too. Like I would say equal. I mean, I could make an argument for both sides. So I'm going to say equally. You have got to step your game up for this quarterback who's making his first collegiate start. That is just, teamwork 101. And I mean, you had 236 yards on the ground, dude. They just, in the fourth quarter, it was so painful to just watch them just go ahead and take control of this game and wind the clock down. Delorier, freshman maniac out there, I felt like was just, his motor never stopped. I'm not saying anyone else's did. I'm just saying noticeably, the way I watched the game yesterday, he was a star on defense. I'm not saying there wasn't any more. I'm saying noticeably freshman was the one that stuck out to me. And you got to have the whole team, everybody's got to pitch in equally, and you have to step your game up when you got a new quarterback. It's it didn't do Ricky Collins any justice at all.
No.
The way everybody played.
No, and the whole thing is again, I think the whole thing was a mental thing. I think they came in, and I don't want to say that they weren't 100% ready, but they kind of had their doubts, and some in some aspects they didn't look like they were dialed in, right? But again, those bigger plays, like that fumble and that targeting, that happened, I think, when it was 10-3. And, you get that target and you get an extra 15 yards and keep the ball, like you're down close to, the red zone again and possible chance to tie. Instead, Duke goes and scores, right? Same thing in the second half, when you're talking about 24-3 going into halftime and you come out and you're like, well, all right, well, because it could have been ugly, right? Duke was like, they were looking at, oh, can we kick a field goal to make it 27-3 and then get the ball out at half? And if they score, then it's done. It's over with. At 24-3 at halftime, there's still a chance if you make the right adjustments. We came out and we stopped them 3 and out, got the ball. And the very first play was another fumble, right?
Yeah.
So it just seemed like even when the offense started to get something to go, like something would happen to where it would give the Duke the momentum right back. And then the defense couldn't step up. And the farther it got in the game and the more points Duke scored, I think that also, too, there's that mental aspect that sinks in. Sometimes you don't want to think that it doesn't, but like you don't have Kyle McCord or Steve Angeli on the sideline to come back. So the more you get down, the more you're just defeated as a defense anyway, because it's like, can our offense even score that many points? And the answer obviously yesterday was no. So,
yeah, all of the swings benefited Duke. All of the momentum swings favored Duke. The explosive run by Shepherd was just like too easy. The turnover sequences, the way that the quarterback play, it's just they did everything right. And for coach to come out and just the first thing he says is, basically I was out coached. It's pretty much what happened. It's like they were in his head.
Yeah.
And really it was just them knowing the situation of Syracuse, and they exposed Duke did a good job. The offense did a really good job of exposing weaknesses, and really the defense did too. Because we know that there's a run defense issue, right? So they just exposed at every level the weaknesses of Syracuse on both sides of the ball. I just expected more, and obviously, if you listen to the preview show, we expected more. So
yeah, well, I didn't. It's just bothered me because again, if I'm in that position in Duke and I don't have any, tape or anything on him, then I'm playing back and I'm letting Ricky Collins beat me with his arm too. So, I think that's why, we were successful in the beginning of the game with running the ball, and
just got, like you said, got down too quick and they stopped running the ball.
But again, but it didn't help. I think that only made it worse. Because even at 24-3 at halftime, you can still run the ball, right? So again, that's why you saw so many plays where he would hit a receiver, and then someone was right there to hit him. They were just keeping everything in front of us, and they were coming up and just making plays. And then Ricky, he completed some balls, and other ones he didn't. And then he's also going to have to learn to not stare down receivers. He's going to learn to not lead his receivers into a freaking collision, an awful collision in someone's knees, or he was throwing some suicide balls out there. Jonte Cook took a bad one, and so did Will Nixon at one point. When he was checking balls down and throwing them out in the flats, like you're setting those guys up to get crushed. So there's obviously some things that we knew that he was going to have to work on. But again, ultimately, a majority of that yesterday's game was the coaching staff not putting their team in a good position to win that game, or keep it close for that matter.
Yeah, and coach mentioned overcoming adversity. Don't allow the loss to drive what happens tomorrow or next week. We'll see how they respond. I believe it's SMU. Am I correct? So
SMU, yeah.
Yeah, so that's not
easy.
That's a difficult game.
Yeah.
Yeah. So,
and I do say that Fran hasn't lost 2 games in a row yet. We've always come back, right? And that's the thing too, is just even looking at yesterday, like we knew that it was kind of like it was almost like a fresh beginning. Like we were at a place with Steve, and now we got to figure out what it is with Ricky. But we still have to remember last year, as good as we were by the end of the season, we still lost games to Boston College, Stanford, and everyone remembers that atrocious Pittsburgh game, which yesterday's game was not as bad as that Pittsburgh game.
No, I guess not, but it was forgettable. Wasn't there like 4 or 5 interceptions in that game or something like that? By five. Yeah.
Two of them were pick sixes.
Yeah. I mean, they responded well to that. I mean, you have a different caliber of quarterback and leadership, last year.
Historic facts. That's all by the coach. Not saying it's the same.
I like we've talked. I mean, I think people who ask questions should know why Ricky Collins didn't come out of the game. It's just how he coaches, and I'm 100% behind it. So started the game, let him finish the game. If he's not injured, let him go out there, and that's what he did in the Pittsburgh game with Kyle McCord.
Mm-hmm.
He never pulled him out. He made him finish the game. I think there's a lot to be learned from being forced to fail, basically. I mean, unfortunately, forced to fail because, like you said, it's on the coaches to design this game plan, and that they didn't help. And coach was asked about Ricky Collins, and he's like, what do we go from here? He goes, well, I mean, it can't get any worse, right? Well, it can, but let's see how they respond next week with that. So, what the most poignant thing of the montage to me was that coach basically called out the team, mostly the defense, for fundamentals. That they didn't play tough, and they got punked, and they're diving at the ground, and they're not using their pads. I mean, that's it in a nutshell. I'm glad he called it out too, because you might as well say it, because it's what everybody else was thinking. So
yeah,
right. I mean, good on him for just owning it. And, it comes down to his coaching. He knows that. He took responsibility at the beginning of the game for it. So, but yeah, it did. It looked weak. It did not look tough. And it was fundamentally flawed. So,
and the weirdest thing about that is, when you go back to his pregame presser, and I know sometimes, it sounds like he's like buttering up some of these schools and everything. But they were a lot of the guys were still asking him, or reporters were asking him questions about Clemson and all that. And he was talking about how we got one of the toughest teams in the ACC coming to the Dome. Like, that's what I'm worried about. They're tough, they're physical, and we need to match up to them, And I just think, like I said, I'll say it over and over, the emotional roller coaster, and, you beat a Clemson, and, even though they might not be that good, it's still Clemson. And I think the players might have overlooked it, and therefore maybe they made it to where the coaches didn't have them prepared. I don't know, but ultimately the coach, as the leader, has got to take it on the chin.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, it's time to hear from you.
It's time to hear from you, the loudmouths from the Loud House.
All right, you guys know what to do at the end of every game. Win, lose, or draw. I ask you for your thoughts on that game. We talk about them here. This one should be fun. I'll take care of Twitter. Joe will take care of Facebook. And we'll see where it brings us. So, if it starts getting repetitive, you'll have to excuse me. I'll have to start proofreading some of these. It usually will get like that on days like this. At Syracuse fan, thoughts on D. They were 4 game-changing plays in first half that lost the game. Ricky interception. There are 4 I think you're saying game-changing plays. There are 4 game-changing plays in the first half that lost the game. Ricky interception. Ricky taking a sack instead of throwing the ball away after escaping 2 sacks. I remember that. Cook fumble, Ricky fumble. If any of those look different, the entire game changes. Ricky moved the ball. We've talked about decision-making concerns with Ricky Collins, and you kind of touched on it with staring down receivers and stuff. Holding the ball is another one. Just holding the ball too long and trying to make something happen, but He gets out. He eludes a couple guys and then ends up taking a sack when he should have definitely thrown the ball away. He's outside of the pocket. There was no reason to hold on to that ball. So it's just a drive killer. Absolutely. I know. I know exactly which one he's talking about. At R by Tuesdays. Ruby Tuesdays. Ah. Got it. Ricky is not the answer. How was that a close QB1 battle? D was disgusting. After SMU, going to be a lot of games on CW. I said the same thing on Twitter, and I'm going to stick by it, what I said. And just because I said it, and I was already thinking it before this game started. I just don't think the QB battle was as close as we were led to believe. I think I feel like, for me personally, my opinion, I'd be a fool to believe that it was as close as we were led to believe after what I saw. And you know, that is not to say Ricky Collins can't get better. That is not to say that, you know, he could have received more help yesterday, for sure. Obviously, we already talked about it. There were no favors that were granted to him by, you know, the team fundamentally, just as a whole. So, at Baptized by Fire 7, I can't watch the game at work, but Matt Park and Adam Terry sounded like G-Rob was coaching again. They played so bad. I have no words. If Ricky can't get it going, and I know if Ricky ain't going, and how he does, I want to see Luke Carney. I also didn't see the D regardless like this. Very disappointing.
Man, that's
it's a word salad. Huh?
It is. It's just ironic that those are the first two messages or, you know, comments that you said. And, you know, I'm looking at Facebook, and our boy Andy Stewart. I mean, I was going to wait for last, but because it's the same kind of, you know, subject, I figured we'd just blend it all in there because it's the conversation about the quarterback and the quarterback race, right? So Andy says, I have to say, and this is probably how you feel like too, but maybe not the first part, but he says, I have to say the majority of Syracuse fans are just idiots, including that fake Brent Axe who claimed Ricky Collins had a leg up on Angeli and predicted him to be the starter, a guy who had access to practice. All those fans bashing my guy Pena for leaving, go F yourself. Now, with that out of the way, anyone bashing Collins as a person is just wrong. He's a great kid, but he has no business being a starter on a P4 team. His footwork is terrible, passing ability and accuracy sloppy, and the one thing we thought he had, which is mobility, isn't great. This isn't a need. This isn't a he needs reps. This is a he is playing out of his league. We will not win. We will not win a single game with him as a starter. The defense quit on the offense. You can tell they have no faith in the offense. That's an issue Fran can't fix without replacing the quarterback.
Man, there's a lot there.
Yeah, dude. And Bob.
Okay, go on. You're going to have to probably go back to that, but go ahead.
We can, but he commented to that comment. And Bob, I'll just leave it at that, says, Bob. Andy Stewart, if you know or have any sources inside the Syracuse football complex, you would have known what to expect. The quarterback battle between Angeli and Collins was never close. Angeli was always way ahead, but Fran wanted to keep a lid on that, which is probably the right play. Trevor Pena had 3 to 4 months with Collins and said, nope, I'm out. Collins seems like a good kid, but he was utterly lost today. One more game like this, and it may be Luke Carney's turn.
Well, okay. I'll start backwards because that's fresher in my mind. It's possible I can relate to a lot of what both of those guys said, and we'll go back to Andy. But there's something to be said too, unless the team is behind him. In the Pena thing, is probably has some truth to it. I mean, I just can't imagine that it doesn't, which is why this Steve Angeli was such a late get. And I mean, all of those are such good points, man. I mean, if you could sum up fan feedback, those two comments, I feel like are enough. I don't even know if I need to go through anymore. If there is a decision made to make another to pull Ricky Collins and throw a Luke Carney in there or something, then that would have to be a decision made based upon how the team responds, and we'll never know that, right? I guess we'll have an idea if it happens, but
right.
you can't lose the locker room by making hasty decisions like that. That's not even Fran Brown's style, as we've seen. So I don't think we got to worry about that. I think that if you do see something like that, that it was already talked about and decided in private amongst let's just say, let's just leave it there. Okay.
Right.
Do you think that's accurate? I mean, the guys got to, if they're like, no, Ricky really, we got to do better for Ricky. It seemed to me like they weren't trying very hard for Ricky. And it's sad to me because,
I feel like it wasn't like the first quarter of like Tennessee, right? I mean, it was still 10-3 and we were driving when we had that fumble. It just seemed to me like it got to a point to where when the defense realized that we were going to struggle to score and that it wasn't the same, like I think as the game went on, it just, the motivation seemed less and less there, like I said, and on top of the fact that they were outcoached. So, I mean, Andy, it was a great comment.
You have to go PowerPoint Andy's comment for me, bro. I lost like the whole Brent Axe thing. I love that.
Yeah.
I mean, I'll give him that. I'll give him that all day. So I do agree with that.
Well, and he's got a point with anybody who, the fans that think that it was that close, with Ricky and Steve and everything like that. But, then you start getting to the second half of his comment, right? And now with that out of the way, and he said that, and he basically said, you shouldn't be bashing the kid as a person.
Absolutely not.
He's a great kid. So it's good that he prefaced the rest of the comment with that, because then he comes with the brutal honesty in his opinion that we'll just, we'll go one at a time. He says, but he has no business being a starter on a Power 4 team.
I think that has yet to be seen.
That's kind of where I was going to go with it.
Okay.
And then I'll kind of skip around because this isn't he needs reps. This is he is playing out of his league. And I think, again, it's the same kind of comment. I think that Tyler kind of hit it last week that, when you come down to a first-time starter and everything, sometimes you need to get those reps with those people, not just in practice, in real live game action. So I'm along the belief of I don't think we're going to be able to make that actual, like, 100% this is a factual opinion until he gets that many reps, right?
Right. Right. I mean, I think Coach, if it continues this way, though, then maybe he doesn't get those reps. And just because we brought up Tyler, he said, he said this game was a wet fart. Okay.
A shark.
It was a shark. And I took it a step further, and it's like a wet fart that you have to walk 2 miles still to take care of your pants. Okay. So that's how I felt. That was not too long after the game. So it was still in me. My son says I'm done with college football for the day. And, it was embarrassing. So anyways, yeah, I think that, if it continues like that, he's not going to get the reps. And I mean, I do think it's yet to be seen. And Andy's a smart dude, and he's pretty spot on with a lot of things. I mean, he's very observant and he's articulate, and he knows the game, and he's pretty good. And obviously he listens. Not that I didn't think he did, but if he's talking about reps, because we've talked about that, and I think we've talked about it because Tyler brought it up. He came on the show. He talked about it, and it was one of those things that was kind of a talking point that we used because to give the benefit of the doubt. Because in my head, I'm been skeptical. So, SMU I think is man, I don't know. They're I don't know if they're as good as Duke, but they're a good team. And to be honest with you, I think Duke is better than I thought. So
yeah, I think that Duke is actually going to be better. I mean, I think with that's the first time I think this year where that freshman became the bell cow. That running back Nate Shepard had a hell of a game. They got that Anderson Castle dude.
He's good too.
Mensa, I mean, he was pretty. Darian Mensa was pretty poised. I mean, that's the difference between 2-3 year starter and first game starter yesterday. I mean, Darian Mensa 22 of 28. Didn't even have to really throw deep balls that much, really. Just kind of managed the game and made the right decisions, and then they started running the hell out of the ball. So, but yeah, to go back to the rest of Andy's, he talked about his footwork is terrible, passing ability and accuracy sloppy. I think he's got a strong arm, but again, if you don't figure out the accuracy, it really don't matter. And again, I did bring it up earlier when he talked about the one thing we thought that he had was his mobility isn't great. And I just think that it's hard to make that decision or like to say, okay, I'm right on board with him, because again, he's got all the right in the world is a person to have his own opinion about, about that. But to me, it's like you kind of got to wait and see. I feel like you got to take a wait and see approach. And you're going to go back to the last couple sentences. The defense quit on the offense, which, you could argue it looked like that's what happened, and that you can tell that they have no faith in the offense. Again, we brought that up because, again, if you don't have faith that the offense can go back and score points, then you kind of start to get down on yourself. And he said that's an issue Fran can't fix without replacing the quarterback. So after we beat Clemson and then you go back to home to a Duke team like that after that injury, to me, if the defense doesn't come out in SMU and play better and give our, offense a better chance, our team a better chance to win, and there's no, seemingly there's no growth in any of, Ricky Collins' play, then I think I'd be more apt to agree 100% with this comment. But yeah, there's a lot there.
There's a lot there. I think
could be true.
I'm 90% there. I'm not saying that he's going to be proven right or wrong. I'm just saying, we have, let's see. And I've been like the let's see guy all year. So it's getting old and tired, but, what else are you going to do? I mean, are we just going to say, don't think that didn't cross my mind yesterday, especially with how pissed off my son was, that the rest of this year coming to a microphone and talk about the game is going to end up like, years past where we just don't know what to say because we just sound like broken records. I don't believe that though. I don't, but I'm still want to just reserve my negativity.
See, I just still don't think that Fran's going to lose the locker room. I don't think he's going to allow himself to. Because that's what he's always gone with, right? Is like it's whoever plays the best is gonna play. So I have to imagine that if Ricky Collins gets a couple opportunities and he doesn't see any type, who knows if he comes out and plays like dog shit at SMU, which again, it's not an easy place to go, and we know this is going to be a challenge. But if he doesn't come out and there isn't some visual like, okay, he's getting better, he's starting to figure it out. Then, you talk about going to a bye week and then have Pittsburgh coming at home, which is your rival game, and another home game. I promise you, 3 weeks from now, the crowd that showed up yesterday for Duke, they're not going to want to show up for the same thing if it doesn't look better next week.
Well, they won't stay. And to Fran Brown's point, he would have probably left too. But it's not just getting him there; it's keeping him there for the game because it's kind of important. Cuse Dart 44 in the spaces. We see the reason that Collins never broke out of the third starting spot. Broke out of the third string at LSU. Most disappointing loss in 40 years. I have watched Syracuse football. After the Clemson high to what we saw yesterday was so bad. Yeah, and I mean, I think that's why Coach told them to go back in their text thread, right? And don't let Duke beat you twice, because we've all seen what that can do, and you just got to live it, forget it, move on to SMU and go from there. And I mean, I'm anticipating Coach's press conference tomorrow, just because what are the chances that the reporters in there actually stick to the SMU game? I got to have some kind of entertainment out of this. Right, exactly. I got to have some kind of entertainment, and that's going to be my silver lining. So both great comments. We could continue to talk about that and do the whole segment on it, but we got a bunch here. We'll get to as many as we can. At Oil Cuse, I didn't make a prediction, so apologies for that. Yeah, do better, Patrick. We had some calls not go our way. I have trust in the coaches to fix this. That nasty Joe is probably freaking out eating a dozen of ketchup hot dogs, but we'll be fine in the long run. How about the U.S. Ryder Cup? Oh, wait, yeah. I watched that too Friday night. That wasn't fun either. So, yeah. What, Joe?
I'm not a big fan of that. I didn't watch it.
Oh, I mean, I'm not a huge golf fan. I just happened to be at where it was on. So, I can watch golf, but I'm not I don't seek it out. Just happened to be where I was at. So, but anyway, yes. At number one Cuse fan, what game can't even call it? That was a complete disaster. Start to finish, both sides of the ball, absolutely embarrassing. At Charles R, pathetic performance in every phase of the game. We know why Angeli came and scooped up the starting job. Joe, you kind of made that point, and I don't think it was on the air, by the way. So I don't want to steal it because I said it, but where, the late get of Angeli may have been because of what was going on with Ricky Collins and Trevor Pena. I don't know if you specifically said Trevor Pena, but that was obviously what, came up in fan feedback today, but, because it was late and we talked about it, I think at the time. I believe we did something about it, right? One of our first ones of the season. So, yeah. I'm gonna do one more, and then I'm gonna need you to pick it up, because I'm gonna look at these and I'm gonna try to get through some of these to see what are the best ones. There's a bunch here. At J.E. Fredenberg 44, I thought Ricky had a strong arm and was athletic. Throws downfield were underthrown by 10 yards. Nixon used his athleticism 0 times. Pena was right. Oof. Awful offense all around. Defensively, I thought E-Rob let us down again. Constantly out of position. Poor tackling. Yeah, I mean, and like I said, Coach said as much. I'm glad that Coach actually addressed that before he left. And I'm glad that he said it the way he said it, because every player on defense should feel those words and want to do better. I mean, those kind of words don't always motivate people, but I think if you're a super competitive person, they should. If your coach is going, it was just weak. It didn't look tough.
Right.
You're not, you know what I'm saying? That should be a motivator. Like, your own coach is saying that you didn't play tough. I mean, that's borderline saying you gave up if you're not playing.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying, Joe?
Yeah, I mean, they always talk about the detailed, relentless, and tough, and the relentless part is never giving up. The detailed is knowing what your assignments are, and tough is not being afraid to get in there and be stronger and grittier and tougher than that other guy, right? I mean, but the problem is that like all three of them kind of have to, like they kind of have to work. You know what I'm saying? You could play relentless and tough, but if you're not detailed and you miss an assignment and you're doing it over there where you're supposed to be over there, then it messes up the whole play, right? So, I mean, I feel like that's why Fran uses that whole dart mentality, because you kind of got to use all of them for it to work. And that's the problem when it comes to football and such a big team game with that, is there's so many different parts of the game that you need to nail down all of them at the same time, and everyone on the field, they need to know their assignments, and they need to do that, because if you get a couple guys out there playing hero ball and just trying to, make plays, but they're not filling the gaps they're supposed to fill, and they're not doing things like that, then it's going to make the whole defense look bad. So that's why you see some of the missed tackles or some of those gaping holes that they just ran through is, either someone got out toughed, or, someone missed an assignment, or there's a couple people that weren't on the same page. And, that's the one thing that sucks. There's a couple questions and comments on Facebook where they're like, oh, the whole team, no energy, and the players in the stat. And it's like, it only takes a couple players to not have energy or not know what they're doing or miss an assignment on defense to give up a touchdown and make the whole defense look awful. Right? It only takes one offensive lineman to not know his assignment, miss it, and the guy comes running in and gets a tackle for a loss or a sack. But it makes the whole offensive line look horrible. So everyone's got to be on the same page. And at the end of the day, there were probably a couple guys, there was probably a handful of guys out there that weren't ready to play. And at the end of the day, to me, it was more the coaching. Let's see, Ted. I think this is why a lot of people are disappointed from Ted's comment here, but missed out on a huge opportunity to gain some footage in the ACC footing in the ACC with FSU losing to Virginia last night. Don't think it was a good game plan to let Ricky start gunslinging out of the gate. Syracuse didn't have to play catch up immediately. They would have likely stuck to a more robust ground game.
Well,
and then our boy.
Well, real quick on that, to your point, I disagree with you. When you said it was 24-3 at half, that we could have still utilized the run game that was successful at the beginning. I would disagree. I think it's at that point, like, we need points and we got to get them quick. But like, there was plenty of time before that where they should have been using him, and because it was effective. I mean, was he averaging over 6 yards a carry? I know he had one big one, right? But 11 rushes for Yassine Willis is not enough. And it's crazy, dude, because we've already talked about this 3 times.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? So what's going on?
Yeah. I mean, and then to be perfectly honest, I mean, don't get me wrong. Will Nixon, good back, better pass catcher, things like that. But I mean, I have seen some stuff, people talking about nepotism and other things like that. Why is he getting just as many, if not more, touches than Yassine Willis? I mean, you can make that argument, but I'm sorry, real quick, Joe, you got to have someone out of the backfield though, for Ricky Collins, right? So, I mean, I don't know, but don't get me wrong, he's there, but that's what a third down back's for, And Yassine Willis, he can make some plays, right? So, I mean, yeah, I don't know.
What were you going to say? Did someone respond to that comment?
Yeah. So yeah, our boy Andy responded and he said, the game plan isn't changing. If he can't do it, then we have 3 other options at quarterback. It's a power 4 quarterback. It's a dog eat dog world. And I will say too, honestly, like that's where I kind of like how Fran and how everyone, because some people are, like in high school is when you're supposed to, you want to bring kids up, but every once in a while you got to massage some things. And even in college, you got to massage them to a point, right? But for the most part, you want to run the same game plan. Like, you don't want to have to change up the whole game plan or the whole playbook just because of an injury as a quarterback, right? So that's where Fran and the coaching staff, they're trying to build to where they have depth to where, it doesn't matter. It's next man up. We're still running the same stuff. So, yes, we want them to run the ball more, but again, the game plan, the calls, the way that they're going to play the game, the system, that's not gonna stop. Like, I don't want them to do that. Like, other players shouldn't have to just change everything that they've been doing since August camp just because of an injury. So, I agree with him wholeheartedly in that situation. But then going back to the other comments, like, if Ricky's not going to be able to do it, then again, on to the next one. So I'm sure there's going to be a little bit more competition in practice as the weeks go forward.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see how everything develops. And I just hope that it gets put together, because I definitely don't want to come here talking about the same crap.
Nope.
Over and over again. Because there's nothing worse. Nope. You know what? There's nothing worse as a couple of guys who just stumbled into doing this for as long as we've been doing it. We've had, weeks worth of games where we just talk about the same thing over and over again. It's not even worth discussing if nothing changes, right? So, right. And there's nothing worse also. Like I've said this before, like privately to people, there's nothing worse than having to relive a loss, especially when it's over and over again. Like, yeah. No one wants to come here and talk about losing because it's dreadful. It's awful. So anyways, I digress, but it's just, I hope it changes because something's got to give. And Darwish, ONC, who, by the way, I just found out today had a baby boy. So congrats to Nadal and his wife on the baby boy. He's three days old, I believe he said. So Nadal, big on the fan feedback. He's been in the spaces and on the show and stuff. So, big shout out to him and his wife for that. That's a blessing. I'm not a football guru, so I don't really understand why we couldn't defend the run, but as a human being, it's clear to me the hit that was ruled not targeting was dangerous and should be a penalty. It absolutely was a dangerous play, but football's dangerous. Yeah. I guess this thing has to meet all three criteria. I've seen worse calls. But at the end of the day, the crown of the helmet thing was the first thing that I remember was like the number one part of this rule. And just like everything, especially with the NCAA, it just evolves and it becomes human error is made all the time in play calls. Even when you get to go to a monitor and look at it in slow motion. Did you happen to see, was it the UVA Florida State game? Did you happen to go in and listen to the conversations on some of those replays Saturday night, Joe?
No.
Or wait, was it Friday night? It was Friday night.
No.
You didn't? Okay. All right. Well, it's a little bit too much patting yourself. It was a little self-gratifying in there, the conversations. I was surprised that they aired. And I wish I remembered exactly, but I remember thinking at the time, like, we shouldn't be that excited to call this for, it just seemed, I don't know, dude. It's gross. Let's put it that way. I don't like it at all. So they should air all of those conversations. If they're going to do it one here, one there, why don't they just do it to all of them? We're sitting here waiting anyways. The broadcaster's got to fill time. So why don't we just air them all so we can hear their thought process behind this? And ironically enough, and I wish I'd met this dude next week, but the local watering hole I go to, there was a guy there who was talking to me because I had a Syracuse hat on, and we were talking, and he let me know that he just retired from officiating in the ACC. He lived in Richmond, and he moved down to Virginia Beach after he retired. And we talked a little bit. I didn't want to like get into too much, but anyways, I wish I had I known some of these things. If this weekend had transpired and I seen him next weekend, I would have definitely bent his ear just to understand these things. But I think if they're going to show these, or at least display the audio for the thought process inside these replays, that if they're going to do one, they need to do them all. That way it's fully transparent. Because to Nadal's point, it's a dangerous play. I thought they're trying to keep the game safe. I mean, I originally remember defenseless receiver, crown of the helmet. The crown of the helmet was a big one. That was what I remember the most. But I don't know. Well, I don't know. I guess we're lucky enough that they really do get it right most of the time, I think, to give them the benefit of the doubt.
That's well, right. I mean, and that's the whole thing is that, when you look back, I mean, I've thought about this before of like, how many plays that have changed throughout history that would have changed sports history back in the day that, now, the reviews, they get them right. How many times has
the Heidi
something
game
been called? Huh?
The Heidi game.
No, I'm just saying.
Oh, no, the catch, the Pittsburgh Steelers one. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I know, but you're talking even like sooner than, you're talking like the Raiders and stuff. That was a catch.
Yeah, I don't know about that.
I'm just saying, there's things like that, right? Or like college football way back in the day, like again when Jim Brown and Ernie Davis and refs. You can't tell me the refs weren't getting paid off. I mean, crap, probably still some of them are today, but like think about all the calls that would have been overturned in the past or maybe changed, history or who won a game. If they could go back and look at the replay over and over again, you just had to take that official's word for it. So that's why sometimes, I can kind of take a step back and be like, all right, like, because the problem is that you have the technology, so you expect them to get everything right, not understanding that, well, at least it's not like back in the day, right?
Yeah, I guess.
But at the end of the day, back in the day, that hit wouldn't have been illegal. So
well, true, that call in particular, yeah. But I mean, they also wouldn't have called it a fumble. So, I mean, I didn't even see where it should have been a fumble. I didn't even, when they came out and they gave the ball to Duke, I was like, what the hell just happened? Because I couldn't hear it. So I didn't even know the rationale behind it.
And they didn't call it a fumble. So how many more you got?
I'm gonna just finish up with this last one. I got more, man, but we're getting into being repetitive. So I just got this one last one from Cuse Waterboy 2. I want to throw up, but I also want to eat my feelings. The ultimate conundrum. So, I mean, I don't know. I wanted to throw up too. Go ahead.
A little speed round in Facebook real quick. Just
go ahead. Yeah.
Not going to go. Yeah. Terrible, not a touchdown. Play like they did this game going forward, and they won't win another game. To say I'm disappointed is an understatement. Embarrassing all around. Nobody came to play offense and defense. Outplayed and you'd expect the quarterback to be a little off, but not the whole squad. Poor in every area, no energy in players or staff. Brown completely outcoached. Did they even practice last week? Very shocked. I expected some growing pains at quarterback, but the entire team, the special teams, no idea what was going on there. Trying to run the ball out of the end zone every time and not getting past defense, giving 100 yards a game. Not a good look. Has a lot to figure out now quickly. And then there's a positive one, a little bit of a funny one. One is, Ryan, what game? Did they have one? They definitely weren't aware of it. If so. And then the positive one, Jake, staying positive here. Maybe we need a good kicking before we went to SMU. Seems like we were smelling our own shit after the Clemson win.
I mean, that's possible. It's good to be humbled. I think that there's definitely truth to that. I like there was a comment that you mentioned that I wanted to. I expected there to be a little bit of quarterback growth, but the whole team question mark, right? Like that kind of sums up my thoughts as I watch the game. I'm like, well, I expected Ricky Collins to struggle a little bit, but I mean, the whole team is struggling. What the hell? They stop handing the ball off to Yassine Willis, and then the rest of the team struggles. It's not complimentary football at all. It's not even close. And after what we just watched against Clemson in Death Valley, and even if, like I said earlier, if Clemson does just suck, you still got to go into Death Valley and come out like that. Like, I know we had Angeli, but we saw what the defense did that game. We've seen the defense. I don't understand the inconsistencies with the defense. I really don't. I mean, It just looks bad. It looks like you didn't want to play. And coach didn't say they quit, and I'm not saying they quit, but it just, your eyes tell you one thing, man, and you don't want to just jump to conclusions. So, they got another week to try to prove this whole thing out. And, I can't stand this every week. The emotional roller coaster of, who is Syracuse? Like, they don't even have an identity right now. Like what are they? And if we make a quarterback change, even if it's for the better, you still have to start over again. It's just, it's not it shouldn't be it shouldn't be an experiment all season. After next week, that we're halfway through the year.
Yeah, no. Yeah. And to that point too, I mean, again, it's never going to be, well, I don't want to say never because sometimes it does happen, but, it's tough in college. Hopefully maybe one day we get there, but, especially in Syracuse's history and in college, I mean, it's tough to have a 1-for-1 replacement, especially when it comes to quarterback. Running back, maybe, things like that. But I don't think that there's any 1-for-1 comparable quarterback on this roster that's comparable to Angelo.
Well, I mean,
so we have to understand that, like, we kind of saw what Angeli could do. We beat Clemson, and we're not going to, not to say that the offense can't get better, but I don't think we're going to see that again this year. I'm just not trying to be a pessimist. I'm just saying that we're young and people are they're trying to figure it out. We go to Luke Carney, he's a true freshman. And his whole thing was, the reason why he wasn't as highly ranked as people thought he could be based upon what he did in high school, was because he didn't really play in a very high, I think it was like 2A or 3A in Texas, which isn't like the most competition. So, you're going to ask this kid to come in and play against ACC opponents his first year. Obviously there's Jakari Williams, but he didn't come in even before Carney when Colgate was there, right? So I don't even know who our backup is at this point. So as much as people were upset about Ricky Collins, but that's just where there's not a guarantee that anyone behind him is even any better than him. So this might just be it's Ricky Collins is the starter, like what he said, and they're going to have to figure it out.
Yeah. Well, we're going to see what happens, but not a good look. Disappointing. And, as we approach, like I said, as we approach midway, we still don't know really what the identity of this team is. And we were getting there too. That's what sucks. It's not anyone's fault. It's just,
we have an identity. It's youthful.
Yeah. Well, true. Yeah. So, all right. Well, I think that'll do it. If anyone else,
congratulations, Nadal.
Do what?
Absolutely.
What'd you say?
I was just saying, congratulations to Nadal for his newborn. Didn't know that happened. It's funny you brought that up. My cousin Mike and his wife Mackenzie actually just had twin boys this morning. So
holy moly, they're in for it. That's fun.
Yes, they are.
Yeah, no, that's great. Nadal DM'd me, and I'm only like on Twitter DMs like twice a week. Once, 4 times a week. Once to post and once to look at the fan feedback, and then the same thing with the prediction stuff. So he had DM'd us a couple days ago, and I responded to it, and then I guess that must have happened on Friday. So Thursday or Friday. So yeah, That's really cool. Congrats to them. We shall be back Tuesday to talk SMU, and I'll see what we can put together. I appreciate all of you for listening. If you still are listening, we appreciate you. Thanks to everybody in the spaces. David, the General, we appreciate all of you guys. Cuse Waterboy, Richard, appreciate you. For Joe and Sean, we're out.
Peace.
And that was delayed.